Before we started filming, you mentioned that you were a big golfer. Are you planning on taking your extra time and going back out on the course?
Well, I think I'm going to play a lot more golf than I did while I was in office. Part of it, all my boys were growing up while I was in office, and I just didn't want to miss any game or any practice that I could go watch, and golf is a big time consumer. I'm glad my boys all play team sports, but now they're starting to get back into golf, so it won't be that hard to reestablish my double-digit handicap. So I will be playing a lot more golf.
Okay. When did you graduate Arizona State University?
1982. I was a freshman in 1982, graduated in 1986.
Okay, so they went to the Rose Bowl in 1987, about 2 years after you ended.
That was the 86 season. That was in January of 87. It was Jeff Van Raphorst at quarterback, defeated Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. And actually, I got to meet Jim Harbaugh about 4 or 5 years ago. He came over for some reason. He was at my neighbor's house. His wife and my neighbor's wife had gone to college, and he wanted me to come over and say hello. I grew up in Ohio, and when I walked in the room, he said, "We're going to talk politics." And I said, "No, we're going to talk college football." I said, "First, this is my dog. He's named Woody. And if you're from Ohio, you know what that means. That's Woody Hayes was the coach of Ohio State for decades." And then I wanted to talk about the 1987 Rose Bowl as well. He was a great guy. Of course, we don't like Michigan in our household for numerous reasons, but that was a real fun conversation. And of course, he knows his college football, his pro football, and he's pretty good on his politics too.
Okay. Were you at the game for the Rose Bowl?
I was not at the game. But I watched every minute of it, and it was a huge thrill. 10 years later, we were in the Rose Bowl with Jake Plummer and Pat Tillman in the 1997 team. We were 81 seconds national champions until...
Very sad moment.
Yeah. Well, it was actually a Mesa kid. Joe, who was it?
I have no idea.
So it's a Mesa kid. He's a football coach here. It'll come to me. But he was the quarterback for Ohio State because ASU passed on him. Oh. And he marched it down the field, passed it to David Boston, and we were no longer national champions. But it was a great 81 seconds. It was a great season, too. I mean, the Jake Plummer team, Plummer to Poole, Pat Tillman, a lot of incredible individuals on that. And I think we really got the poster child for Arizona State University going forward. And now that statue of Pat Tillman stands right in front of the locker room as they come onto the field or out at the pond when you go to a Cardinals game.
So those were the glory days of ASU football, and now we are where they're at today. What would you, if you were head coach of the team, what would you be trying to do? Well,
I would hire a head coach is what I would do. There are really good head coaches out there, and I think there's some really good men that have worked hard on the program. Everybody loves Herm Edwards' character. I think Todd Graham really had the program going in the right direction. The university made the decision it made. So the opportunity right now is there to find somebody who's a Sun Devil and wants to be the head coach, wants to build a program. I think in many ways we've become a stepping stone or a place where people have been ending their career. I think we should find somebody young with a real chip on their shoulder that loves our state and doesn't want to coach in the NFL and doesn't want to coach at Alabama. They want to turn this into the type of program that Frank Kush enjoyed in the real glory days when the Fiesta Bowl came to life and we were playing undefeated seasons and bringing people like Nebraska here to defeat them in the bowl games and still not getting the national respect that we deserved. When I was at ASU in 1982, we were knocking on the door of the Rose Bowl every single year, finally made it that last year, but we were definitely a legitimate top 10 program.
Gotcha. Any other sport? I mean, pro? Do you like any pro sports?
I'm a homer. You know, I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, so all we had were the Mud Hens and the Toledo Gold Diggers. So I thought when I moved here and this was going to be my permanent home, I was just going to embrace each of our sports franchises. The Diamondbacks Super Bowl, or the Diamondbacks World Series victory in 2001 was the greatest week of my adult lifetime. I could take you through every game and where I was. And it's great to see the Cardinals knocking on the door. The Suns have consistently been the first and favorite franchise of the state, and they're back in it and can win a championship this year. And I think once the Coyotes move from out west into the more central corridor, we'll be a hockey town.
Okay.
And the other thing, I love Bobby Hurley. And I love that Bobby Hurley's at Arizona State. I think they should get a split screen inside the stadium because I don't know whether to watch the team or to watch Coach Hurley. I love his level of intensity, and I also love his personal story, his journey of faith and redemption, what he did at Duke. People don't realize we wouldn't even know what Duke basketball is without Bobby Hurley, and maybe a little bit to Coach K and some to Christian Laettner, but that really was Bobby Hurley's program. So we're fortunate to have him. I do think he wants to build a real program at ASU, and he's had some real moments of greatness, and I think post-COVID and his recruiting ability, I'm excited about the upcoming season.
Two big sporting events are happening in Arizona this upcoming year. Waste Management Open, and now we're hosting the Super Bowl. Are you going to be going to both or only one?
Well, I go to the Waste Management Phoenix Open every year. It's the largest sporting event in the world. I think it's north of 700,000 people that'll be out there for 4 days. So I love it. I'm part of the organization that helped create it, the Phoenix Thunderbirds, and it's something I enjoy very much. This year, it will be the pre-party for the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl Sunday will actually be on the last day of the Phoenix Open. I've been to our last two Super Bowls. I intend on going to the next one. I'm hopeful that the Arizona Cardinals will be in the Super Bowl, but I think today we're 2-3 or just have 2 wins. Yep. We've got some work to do, but we almost beat Philadelphia last week. They're the only undefeated team in the NFL, so hope springs eternal.
Gotcha. Anything else, guys? Are we good?
Thanks for your time.
You got it.
Really
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.